Welcome to the Larson Health Podcast, where we explore the connections between wellness, mindset, and living your best life. I'm your host, Kim Larson, founder of LarsonHealthWeightLoss.com. This episode of the Larson Health Podcast is proudly powered by Bold Brave TV. You can watch or listen on Spotify, YouTube, at the Coach Kim Larson, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to tune in to your favorite podcasts. Today's episode is deeply inspiring. It's about a health crisis, often a moment of fear, which can become the catalyst for a whole new way of living. Our guest is Chanel Boal, a woman whose life took a major turn in 2014 when her health began to decline. But rather than surrender to that moment, she made a decision that changed everything. Today, Chanel is a wellness specialist, an alternative education, a certified personal trainer, a 6-time NPC National Bodybuilding qualifier, and holds a master's in social work with a concentration in community mental health. She lives and breathes a holistic wellness lifestyle, and she's here to share how it all began. Chanel, thank you for being with us today. Welcome.
Thank you, Kim.
I appreciate you being here. So let's go back to the beginning. So what happened in 2014 that shook you and ultimately spared your personal wellness, or sparked your personal wellness journey?
Yeah, so first off, I just want to say thank you for having me on your podcast, and thank you for allowing me to share this space with you and to share it with the viewers as well. So in 2014, I was 24 years old and I was diagnosed with shingles, which, if people don't know what that is, it's a condition that you can get from having chickenpox when you're younger and then it coming out later in life. So usually you don't get it at that young of an age, so it's kind of a shock. And I had a rare condition where it kept coming out every single month. So it was very painful. So that's where it all began for me.
Wow, that sounds tough. So many people see a health crisis as the end, but for you, it was the beginning. So what shifted in your mindset during that time?
So during that time, I had no awareness of wellness. It really just woke me up when a lot of medical professionals were telling me, oh, that's such a young age to get shingles. There must be something really wrong. Another, medical professional was like, you're just very unlucky. So that kind of rattled things in my mind and just set, the curiosity for me to further explore.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you decided, to embrace wellness, where did you start and what were those early days like?
Okay, so yeah, I had no awareness of wellness, right? So it was literally the doctor just telling me, okay, you have to live a healthy lifestyle starting from this point. So my thought was just, okay, I got to get into the gym, right? So I just focused on my physical health, working out, and just going to the gym every single day, which then I fell in love with that process, which led me to then get my certificate in personal training.
Okay. And then, so you've talked about a holistic approach. And so what does that mean for you, like back then? And then how did you begin integrating that?
So as I was into my physical health in the gym, I fell in love with it. So then I wanted to compete. I did that. I loved that. So then I went further into getting my certificate into personal training. And as I was going through that process, the training went really in depth into wellness. So wellness is 6 components of our health. So that's what opened my eyes to, wellness isn't just about physical health, the way we look, but it's about an acronym that they use SPICES, right? So it's about our social health, our physical health, our intellectual health, our cognitive health, our emotional health, and our spiritual health. So that led me to go on this journey of trying to balance each one of those to gain a sense of healing.
And so can you talk a little bit more about that? So of these 6 components, what is the social, what is the physical, what is the intellectual, what is the cognitive, emotional, and spiritual?
Mm-hmm. So your social health is going to be interacting with other individuals, making sure you don't isolate yourself, right? Putting yourself in different environments, And then your physical health is going to be, the physical aspect of moving the body, but also what you eat, what you put on your body and in your body, right? So that's the physical. The intellectual is just learning daily, taking on new information daily. Cognitive is going to be our mental health. So understanding our emotions, our feelings, how we feel, which then creates certain things of how we act, right? So taking that into account. And then it's going to be our emotional health. So that kind of ties into it, but our emotional health does also include relationships, right? From when we were young all the way up until throughout our lives, how relationships can impact us. And if we have a strong sense of who we are, we're able to keep those connections with other people. And then the last one, spiritual health. So really connecting with the soul and the spirit of us and not being so let's say like into materialistic things, right? So listening to our bodies and what we need versus just escaping, which most people in society do nowadays. They escape, right, to various things to distract ourselves from not looking into what we need to heal ourselves.
Excellent. So for those listening who might be in the middle of their own health crisis, what would you tell them right now?
So I would tell them just to have grace for themselves first, right? I'm 10 years into my journey right now, and I still learn daily. So to have grace for yourself and just start baby steps. Don't take on too much all at once, because it can be very overwhelming, but just listen to your body and start slowly.
So tell me about the role that nutrition played in your transformation, especially your decision to go vegan.
Mm-hmm. So as I was working out, at the time I thought, okay, this is going to heal me. Even though shingles is a virus, and as we know, viruses don't cure ultimately, but I thought, okay, I can heal like the doctor says, and it'll never come out. It'll lay dormant, right? But I was working out 3 times a day, eating well, which I thought was good for my body, the way I was eating, but I was still getting those outbreaks of shingles. So I looked to more spiritual and said, okay, well, I need to look in another avenue, right? So spiritually, I'm born, raised in Catholic. I'm Catholic, right? Born and raised. So I turned to the Bible at that point, and I opened first book, Genesis, in the first chapter. It talks about, how God put the living tree, which bears fruit. And so that was the first type of food he put on to this earth. So for me, I took it as, okay, well, I have everything on this earth that can heal me. So I turned to that. And then I did some further research, and I found out that acidic diet will feed into viruses to make them come out, right? So a vegan diet is alkaline, which is the opposite. So fruits, vegetables. And so from that point on, the first 5 months of being vegan, I did a raw vegan diet. So I did that. And then ever since then, I've been 5 years vegan now, which has helped immensely.
Okay, cool. Now you were also competing, right? So in bodybuilding competitions, and as a vegan, how were you able to compete against people who are eating animal proteins?
So at the time, I actually wasn't vegan when I was competing.
Okay.
So that's when I still was eating, 8 eggs every morning, 8 meals a day, full meat protein, and I was still getting those outbreaks. And so my body was still very acidic. And now I see today, now that I'm vegan, the inflammation in my body has disappeared altogether. So even when I was working out 3 times a day and I was eating all that animal protein, my body was still inflamed. So I couldn't see the definition of my muscles as much. If I were to compete now, I feel like I would be much better without that inflammation and having an alkaline diet.
Okay. So you became a personal trainer and you competed in bodybuilding. And how did movement and strength training help you reconnect with your body? So you recognize you're having the animal proteins and you're still having breakouts, but did it help you reconnect in a different way with your body?
Yeah, so when you first get into the gym or you start lifting, you don't really understand the muscle mind connection. But as the years go on, you really are able to connect your mind with each muscle that you're working out at the time. And I just feel like that's another level of awareness that allows you to know how your body functions.
Yes.
From being in the gym or just on a daily basis, understanding that you don't have to go to the gym every single day. You can do stuff, at work or at home that can really get the body moving to create healing.
Yes, exactly. So, and how was it? Did the breakouts lessen? Were they just as frequent as before?
Yeah, so I used to have them monthly, which is why I say it was a very, very difficult time for me because it's chronic pain and it's something that's shamed in society. So I couldn't go to work and be like, oh, I have shingles, right? Because people are fearful. So I'm just in pain every month. But then, yeah, once I started a vegan diet, they started lessening more and more and more. And as I continued my wellness journey, now I probably only have one every 2 years.
Okay. All right. So that's not bad at all. Yeah.
No,
And that's
yeah.
still even with being vegan, you're still going to break out one every 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, because it also comes down to which I did a lot of research and I found out that it coincides with your immune system, right? So if I'm sick, on top of that, if I have my menstrual cycle, which then lowers your immune system,
Yeah.
um, if I'm working myself a lot, I'm drained, if those are all combined, then I could risk having an outbreak because it does live in the nervous system.
Yes. Now, when you got shingles, like it comes in different areas of the body, where did it happen for you?
So it initially came my lower back right below like my bathing
Ouch.
suit line.
Yeah.
And so the first time I ever got it, it caused very, very much pain. Like I felt like I was wearing thousands of pounds and my knees were just like grinding. Like I
Hmm.
could barely walk. And then that's usually where I get it most of the time. There's only one other
Okay.
time I got it actually in my eye. And that was
Okay.
actually
Wow.
yeah, I got that after getting a vaccine. And so the vaccine triggered it to move to my eye, which you can lose your eyesight. If you get it in your
Yes.
eye or your ear, you can lose your hearing as well.
And so you were lucky you didn't lose your eyesight.
No, yeah, I got eye
Okay.
drops, but it was one of the most painful things. It feels like your eye is clamped by like a device just 24/7. It's very painful.
Yes. Yeah, because I had chickenpox as a kid and I had shingles as well. It came up on my forehead. I didn't know what it was. I thought I was getting pimples. So, but yeah, I had gone to my nose, and so I have a little divot on the tip of my nose. I don't think you can see it, but yeah, they had said to me that if it had gotten in your eye, they had, it could be I could lose my sight. So what do
Yeah.
they do for you when that happens? They gave me steroids, but my regular doctor said he never would have gave me steroids. What do they do for you?
So yeah, the initial outbreak, they gave me steroids and then another medication. And then every single time I was getting them, he's like, wow, like I've never seen a case like this. He's like, you tend to get it when you get your menstrual cycle. So either A, I can just put you on meds for life, or we could take away your menstrual cycle. And for me, I thought to myself, like, that's not natural.
Natural,
So
yeah.
I wanted a different approach, right? So that's why I went to, my other wellness, my different health components, and just did some research. And so now when I have an outbreak, I go on like a fruit and vegetable fast. I'll do that, and
Okay.
usually it feels better in 3 days versus when I was taking
Oh,
medication
great.
had me on, I think it was 3 times a day for 10 days. And it wouldn't
Wow.
help until like the 10th day. But with food, it feels better within 3 days, 3 to 4
That's
days.
amazing. So a fruit and vegetable diet, really, within 3 days, you were done. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. That's great to hear. So that's good news for other people who might be battling with shingles that can try vegetables and fruits and just
Mm-hmm.
eat that. And did
Mm-hmm.
you have any timing of how you were eating them? Did you have any combination of fruits and vegetables? Was it just whatever was available in season?
Yeah, usually just what's available, or I like to do a green smoothie. So
Okay.
spinach and mango and water, maybe a little lemon, but those three
Okay.
ingredients, I do that every morning, and then I'll do a salad and then usually some vegetables throughout the
Okay.
day.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that sounds great. Um, let's see. Yeah, so now I see it. So we've got to go to a commercial break. Um,
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
so we're back, and we're here with Chanel Boal, and we're talking about her health journey. So a lot of people start with physical goals, but emotional and spiritual wellness are often neglected. So what work did you do internally to heal from the inside out?
Yeah, so although I did start physical too, I think that's, something that society just really thinks is like the main thing of wellness, right? It's just, oh, you're physical, you got to get working out. But emotional and spiritual are very important as well. So I would say my background in education and work history has really blessed me with a lot of knowledge when it comes to mental health. I got my bachelor's in human services with the emphasis of mental health and substance abuse. And then I worked for 5 years in the industry just to see if I wanted to pursue a master's, and I fell in love with it. Working at a nonprofit serving homeless low-income families. Then I went on to probation. Then I went on to wraparound services where I worked with foster youth. And then while I was in my master's, I got my master's in social work, concentration in community mental health. I worked at a group home for foster youth. And during my master's as well, I did an internship. So I was able to implement my skills as a therapist, individual and family therapist. So I was diagnosing in a school setting and in a community setting. So I have a lot of knowledge for mental health. And also I attend therapy as well. So I go once a week, and I'm learning every single time I go in there about my childhood and how I suppressed a lot of feelings just to protect myself, right? And I think that's a lot of, like, society doesn't know that sometimes we don't have the luxury to be able to open up, right? If we're not in a safe, conducive environment, we won't express those things. So it takes time. And then you develop this pattern of learning how to cope with that, which isn't healthy because we're suppressing all of it.
And it doesn't make us vulnerable, right? It doesn't help us to be more vulnerable because we're afraid to be vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. So the more we suppress, we can end up lashing out when it gets to be too much, right? We then have to see actions of anger, and it's not who we really are, right? But it's something that just has to come out.
Sure. Well, that's really interesting to hear. Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people also have a stigma about, right? They're afraid of going into getting therapy when it can really be helpful, especially when there are things from our childhood that were so abusive, or just blocking our way of thinking, or blocking our emotions.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's interesting. So you're now helping others in alternative education settings. So what patterns do you see in others who are struggling, and how do you help them begin their own healing journey?
Yeah, so the main thing that I see is just a lack of awareness, right? So I work with youth who have been expelled from their school district or have had patterns of truancy. And what we see in truancy is that it really comes down to either mental health or physical health issue that's not allowing them to go to school. So when they come to our school, I see a lot of lack of awareness, which our society doesn't really teach us how to listen to our bodies and how to navigate those different ways, right? So when you're thrown into education, not knowing how to do all of that, then it really shows its face in where society puts us, right? So the lack of awareness, every time I meet with my students, I mention that knowledge is power, right? So once we have the knowledge, we have power to either use in a good way or bad way. And hopefully, we use it in a good way, and we're able to transfer that power to other people. So I could just, every time I meet with students, I do restorative circles weekly, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I do individual meetings with students, and you can see the level of awareness, like unlocking each step. And it just shows the way that they live their lives day to day, the control they have then to be able to heal and understand themselves.
That's amazing. So what are some of the misconceptions people have about what a wellness journey should look like?
So I would say that people tend to, whenever I bring up wellness, they tend to say like, oh, that's just trendy right now. Like, I don't want to hear about that. It's just trendy. But wellness has been around since before Western medicine was even a thought, right? So I think our society and Western civilization, we're just living in survival mode. So we're told like, oh, I'm in pain. Okay, take a pill, so that we can continue to function in this fast-paced environment, right? So it teaches us to detach from our bodies and to not listen to our bodies. So for people who think, yeah, it's just a trendy thing, it's all hearsay, I don't want to buy into it. It's been around since before Western medicine.
And for what you're teaching these students, is it helping them understand that what the wellness journey really is, and getting over that it's just trendy?
Yeah, I think it really does open their eyes to a different perspective. I do restorative circles, so that's a tradition in, Native American culture. And it really is coming together, sitting in a circle where everyone's equal and you can tell your story, which then heals yourself and heals other people. And I think that's where our society needs to go back to, listening to each other. And that's where I've gotten a lot of my information, is from people coming onto, different social media platforms and saying like, oh, this is what I tried, or, try this. And because everybody's body is different, right? So if we understand how things work on a surface level, but then understanding, okay, at the end of the day, we really have to listen to our own bodies and think of like what food we're putting in and how that causes a reaction, because nobody's body is the same, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, because even in the journey that I'm helping other people, where I'm talking about functional nutrition, and in functional nutrition, everything has an underlying, right? We're not trying to put a patch onto it to try to fix it with medication. We're trying to find what is that underlying emotion or food or toxin or whatever it might be in somebody's life that is causing the disease that they might have. Now, it could be that you could do everything that there is within functional health with food as medicine, but if they still have an emotional block, we need to make sure that we get over that emotional block, because they could be struggling like you're talking about, right? So getting in there for that therapy is amazing, and that you have seen that and that you've recognized that it's so important to have it and to go every week, even when you don't look like you need it, right? You are still there and you're doing it, right? Because it's something that is just helpful for all of us to grow and better ourselves. It's almost like somebody having hiring a coach, right? A life coach. So it's similar to that, except for it's making you grow as an individual. So that's really cool. Kudos on you for doing that for yourself. I think that's amazing.
Thank you. Yes, I try to, think of things of, okay, well, I eat every day, right? How many times do I eat per day? If I eat 3 times a day, I should be doing 3 mental health exercises per day, right? So I try to put it in context of like what we should be doing and not what society, kind of makes us focus on.
Yes. Excellent. So how do you define wellness today, knowing that you've lived through both the struggle and the healing? How do you define it?
So I just really try to balance all the 6 components of health, right? So I know that it's not a destination, but more of a journey. So it's never like I'm going to be fully healed, right? Viruses never fully cure, but if I'm able to live a balanced lifestyle when it comes to those 6 components, I'll have better results in my life. So that's really what I think wellness is. It's not something that we have to be perfect at, right? A lot of people think like, okay, well, you look well, but really on the inside, sometimes I'm really struggling. They're like, you make it look easy. And I'm like, it's a daily, it's a daily thing. It takes a lot of work, but it definitely pays off at the end of the day.
It really is. And especially as women get older, we lose our estrogen, our progesterone, our testosterone, right? We're losing our hormones. And when that starts to go away as an older woman, we don't have the anti-inflammatory effects of our progesterone and estrogen. So that's why, women typically when they're older, they start to put on the middle weight gain, in the center section, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. How come I can't lose this? And so, knowing what that struggle is, and you have to do it every day. It doesn't mean that you can't cheat every now and then. I tell people like, you can, have a bite, but just do it once a week and do it right after your meal. Don't do it 2 hours after your meal or something like that, so that way you make sure that you have, the food that's digesting beforehand, right? So you've got the food that's digesting, beforehand to stop the sugar flow into your body. Mm-hmm. And then also we talked about healing the gut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So a lot of fruit has that fiber, right, to help slow digest. So even if you want something sugary, having a fruit before and after will really help the digestion of slow sugar and not raising that sugar level.
Yes, exactly. So and the vegetables as well, right? They have a ton of fiber in them. So, so you mentioned in other interviews that wellness is about reclaiming your power. Right. So what does that mean to you personally, regaining your power?
Yeah, I would just say, like I said, knowledge, right? Knowledge is power. Famous quote is ignorance is bliss. But to me, the more knowledge that you end up unlocking, the awareness you have, you realize that ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is powerlessness. Because without the knowledge, you have no power. Right? You have no way of taking back your own awareness of your body and connecting with your body. So I think just having the awareness to do that really allows you to reclaim your health. We go to, society, right here, Western medicine, we go to doctors and we put our whole life, our whole body into someone else's hands who we may see for 15 minutes. Right. And it's not to knock them in any way because doctors are great. And I feel like society, if you engage in man-made things, you're going to need man-made medicine. So there is a need for Western medicine. But if you live a life that is less of man-made things. For example, meat that we eat, right? In the beginning of time, we weren't eating as much meat. So in order to supply that demand, we have to then, create this system that mass produces. Well, that's man-made. Mass production is man-made, which then leads to heart disease if you're consuming too much meat, right? So then that leads to needing man-made medicine. So that's just something that I've seen in society that, really has an effect on all of us.
Yes. And the data shows that actually meat isn't bad for us. It's when you start eating the processed foods, and also when you get the factory farmed meat, which is filled with chemicals, right? They're filled with hormones and antibiotics and all these things that harm our bodies. So if you can get grass-fed, pasture-raised animals, it's actually not a problem for you. And then you get your complete aminos. It doesn't mean that a vegan can't get their complete aminos, but they might need a supplement to get those complete aminos. But yeah, so I eat red meat on a regular basis. My father died of a heart attack. My mother has diabetes, high blood pressure. She has all these diseases, and my brothers have them too, but I have none. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that you're eating the right foods. So,
and for your body type too, right? So for me, who has the virus, like that's going to create more of it. So just understanding the body and what's good for you.
I agree. So you're listening to the Larson Health Podcast with Chanel Boal. The episode is brought to you by our sponsors and clean eating wellness recipes at larsonhealthweightloss.com, where real food fuels your real transformation.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant, like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
So Chanel, you've mentioned in other interviews that wellness is about reclaiming. Oh, I asked you, what are the daily non-negotiables that keep you grounded in your journey?
So I would say a positive mindset first. That's very important to me. And a lot of people who know me are like, you're too positive. But that's honestly what keeps me going every single day. Even going through this, life-changing experience, I have to look back and think, okay, it happened for a reason, right? And I truly believe that if that didn't happen to me, I would have struggled a lot with sugar because I was eating sugary food all day, every single day. And, my grandpa had diabetes, so I have diabetes in the family. And if I didn't have that, hit in the face, like wake up call, I think I would have gone down that road because I didn't have self-control. I had no awareness of wellness. So I really think that having that positive mindset of thinking, okay, it happened for a reason and it led me to this journey and my life has, changed for the better because of it. So I think having that positive mindset is something that, helps me on a daily basis to just get through things and stay, in the moment.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's interesting about the sugar, because what we know about sugar is that it's 10 times more addictive than cocaine. So once we get in that sugar trap, it's difficult to get out, and you almost have to just be cold turkey, cut it for at least a month so that you can break that habit. Yeah, it's difficult. So can you talk about the emotional resilience, right? To just stay consistent, because especially after coming through a major crisis.
Yeah, so a lot of people always ask me, the number one question is, how do you stay motivated? How do you keep going? And one word that I always use is discipline, right? Because every day, it's not like I get up every day and I'm like, oh, I want to eat healthy food. I want to, move my body. I want to do all these things. It comes down to knowing that, I just have to do these things to have a better outcome. So continuing to do things, even though I don't want to do it, discipline is something that's part of life. Because from the outside, a lot of people will be like, oh, you just make it look so easy. You make it look so fun. And I'm like, internally, it is very hard, but I know it's what's best for me in the long run.
Yes. And you talk about, with being consistent. And I always think about also, because you're so happy, is being grateful. Right. So I always have talked to people about, if you're just grateful for the little things that you have, right? You have eyesight, you have 10 little fingers and toes, right? You have the ability to think for yourself, the ability to move for yourself. These little things, or maybe a roof over your head. I mean, there's some simple things to be grateful for that a lot of people take for granted. And when you think about it, we're just these little specks on a big earth and a big solar system. So don't worry about your little problems.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's where our spiritual health, right? One of the 6 components, our spiritual health is very important, of understanding that our soul and our spirit is the most important thing versus materialism.
Yes.
Right? So I was, like I said, Catholic. I attend Mass every Sunday, and I believe that the Holy Spirit guides every step that I take. And understanding that that's my first, that's my grounding, keeps me grounded, is the Holy Spirit, and whatever comes out of that is just a plus.
That's great.
So any material item above that is just an add on,
Just a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love for you to share a moment or story when you realized you weren't just surviving anymore, you were actually thriving.
Yeah, so that's an interesting question, because I feel like I'm finally at the point in my life right now, right? I'm 10 years into my wellness journey. I'm 35 years old, and I finally feel like I'm at a place where I'm doing okay. Like I don't have to worry. My whole life, I felt like I've had to worry and worry and worry, and what's next, and how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? I'm finally in a place, and I think I'm understanding that I'm reaching a level of balance when it comes to the 6 components, which is really wellness, right? So it's taken me 10 years to feel that. I'm in therapy, like I said. I'm moving my body constantly. I love being in the sun, love being in the water. I'm, my intellectual health, I'm learning daily from different podcasts I watch, reading books, interacting with people from different walks of life. And then I'm living on my own right now. So just being able to be independent and just take full control. I feel like I'm finally, being able to be okay with where I'm at and take a breath and, not have to worry about anything.
Okay, good. Yeah, because, thriving is really important in stress. I mean, I remember when I had shingles, it was my father had passed away and we were at a meeting and I'm trying to figure out, and there's a big snowstorm coming. And it's like, when do I leave? Do I leave now? Do I leave before the snowstorm comes? I got to get to my father. He's not going to live much longer. He's already at hospice care. So getting to that point of that stress and understanding how that stress impacts our life, that's when it hit me. And I haven't had it since. So, well, I should say after I retired. I haven't had it since. Ever since I've been able to relax more, right? Because work can be very stressful. And so being able to manage through that, and just life in general, right? So I think that really makes a big difference. And then also taking care of your health with the way you're taking care of your health with proper eating really makes a big difference.
Yes. Maintaining that ability to stay calm in our nervous system, to be relaxed, even in a state of being overwhelmed or, like you said, stress. It takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of work, but the more you practice that on a daily basis, the easier it is to do it while you're under all that stress too. So a lot of people do have that misconception of, I only have to work on things in the heat of the moment, but that's actually not right? Because how do we implement something if we don't practice it on a daily basis? So practicing little things, even when you're not in it, is what helps your body to just jump into that mode of doing it when you're under that stress.
Yes, I agree. So you work in the wellness space every day, but you're still on your journey too, right? So how do you stay encouraged when life still throws challenges your way?
Yeah, so there's always going to be, times in life that are going to be challenging, right? And I think the way that I get through them is by looking at my past, and everything I've gone through and everything I've accomplished has made me a better person. No matter how hard it was, I've always come out a better, stronger person. And so anything that comes my way now, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Like, give it to me. I'm ready to just become a better person from it. So I think just having, like I said, having that positive mindset of, past things have not, taken me out, so I can handle pretty much everything. And then also, my spiritual health really, really helps me of, understanding that God has a plan for me, and not to harm me, but to put me in the right position and open up doors for me, right? If I didn't go through all this stuff, I wouldn't be able to talk about it and give my experience and maybe help out one or two people that listen, right? And that's, my ultimate goal is just being able to have somebody hear what I've been through that can maybe help them in their journey.
Yes, exactly. Now, I think it's also that God gives you the ability to do it for yourself, right? So I think that you're the one who did the research. You're the one who got into personal training. You're the one who did these things. Maybe God guided you along the way, but you're the one who did it. So kudos to you for making that happen and getting your life in order so that you can be a healthier version of you.
Yes.
Yeah. So, because it really makes a big difference. So I'm curious. So for listeners who feel like it's too late to change, what would you say to them?
I would say it's never too late. And honestly, right now is the best time because we have so much access to free resources, right? You could pull up and listen to podcasts. You can go to a library, open up a book. You have unlimited right now. I think I was blessed to be born in this time period because prior to that is much harder to be a vegan. It's much harder to gain all this knowledge. So I probably would have suffered more if it weren't for being born in this time period, right? We are resilient. I probably would have gotten through it, but I think now it's even easier to be able to have the knowledge and gain the awareness to be able to have control over our healing and our journey. So it's never too late. It's just the right time.
Yes. Yeah. And I think what's interesting is I have a lot of clients who are battling maybe heart disease or high blood pressure or diabetes, arthritis, and they don't follow the health space, right? So they don't have the knowledge because they haven't researched it. They assume that their doctor, because they go see a doctor and the doctor wants to give them medication for what they're on, for their high blood pressure or whatever it is, versus seeing food as their medicine and a way to heal their bodies. And so I always look at this and I start sharing the podcasts that are about health, because that's all I see every day long, because that's what I live, right? I live health. And so that's all I see. I see Dr. Mark Hyman. I see Dr. Mindy Pelz and Dr. William Lee. And I see all these different functional health doctors that are talking about health. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't use our conventional doctors still, and that maybe some people still need medication, but food is our medicine to heal, and knowing, what toxins are in somebody's life or what that might be that's causing problems in somebody's life. So yeah. So let's talk about spiritual wellness. So how has your connection to something greater guided your path?
Yeah, so growing up Catholic, just having, like I said, those scriptures to remind myself, Psalm 23, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. And, I shall not want. Things like that just keep me grounded and knowing and not letting my mind escape, right? And into the world of like, oh, I need this to satisfy me. I need this to satisfy me. And that I can handle things, and I'm going to go through things, but I'm never alone. He's always with me. Right. Yes. And I feel like that spirituality of having the Holy Spirit with me daily, with every step that I take, really helps keep me grounded and not, like I said, let my mind escape, which leads me to different environments in my life that support that. Like, for example, my boyfriend, he's a very spiritual person as well. Shout out to him. He created this space for me today. So
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. He has these traditional pieces from his ancestry of Apache Nation. So we are led to people in our lives that we focus on stuff with ourselves as well. So spirituality. Right.
This portion of the Larson Health Podcast is brought to you by our incredible sponsors and by our 4-week inflammation reducing plan, available now at larsonhealthweightloss.com. So let's get back to our final moments with Chanel Boal in just a minute.
Mike Zorek, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network. Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
So we're back with Chanel Boal, and we were talking about the spiritual path and the spiritual wellness. So I would like you to expound on that a little bit more. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was talking about how what we implement in our lives will attract us to other people who also experience the same things, right? So it allowed me to connect with my boyfriend. So the job that I do now, like I said, I run restorative circles, which is a tradition from the Native American heritage, right? So when I met him, we instantly connected. And I just feel like we both have that common ground of really nurturing our spirit and our soul before any materialistic thing. So I feel like spirituality is super important to understanding our body and our healing. When we come together and we share our stories, that's a sense of like being heard and healing each other. So that I feel like, even though like being Catholic, right, I depend on God a lot, but I know I do have free will. So I feel like I'm in control of my life, but God allows me to have peace to be able to control it.
Okay.
Right? Without him giving me that kind of roadmap, I would be all over the place. But that's just the way my mind works, right? Everyone's mind is different. So I'm a little bit more on the anxious side. So to be able to have that anchor of scripture and just knowing his presence and the Holy Spirit allows me to have peace first and then to take control with the knowledge and awareness I have.
That's great. Yeah, I think it's really interesting because, to hear about that, like I'm not somebody who goes to church. I was raised Catholic, or not really raised Catholic, but I was baptized when I was 25. So to learn more about Catholicism at that point in my life, and to experience it, I remember always having a good feeling when I was in church. But yeah, to hear you talk about it and how it kind of keeps you, kind of on a path is really interesting. So how can someone begin a wellness journey if they're overwhelmed or broke or they don't even know where to start? How can they begin that journey?
I would say it's super important how we implement new things in our life, right? We want it to be fun. We want it to be exciting. We don't want to think of it as another task we have to do, just like work, right? We want it to be something we want to do, not have to do. So I would say really understanding yourself and know what type of learner you are. So there's quizzes online that you can find out what learning style you are. And then after understanding that, so if you're a visual learner, if you're an auditory learner, if you're a hands-on learner, whichever one you are, try to implement the information on that avenue. So for example, if you like podcasts, just start listening to podcasts about all the 6 components of health that go into wellness, right? So if you like to write stuff down, just get a piece of paper, or if you're more into today's world of grabbing your phone and putting it in notes, knowing your avenue of how you like to learn, I think is the most important foundational piece of taking on a wellness journey, right? How are you going to document that to find out how you're balancing the 6 components? So for me, the way that I did it was through Instagram. So through my Instagram, on my stories, I have like one for wellness, or all the components of wellness, right? So physical health, emotional health, all the 6 components. And then I'll make sure that I try to balance them every single day. So, if you don't have any money, if you feel overwhelmed, you could take a piece of paper, you could grab your phone and just put the 6 components, and then just start daily recording what you're doing to fulfill those. Because every day we should be coming in contact or engaging in all the components of that, right? So then once you start seeing how you spend your day and your time, that allows you to restructure to getting in all those components. And then after a while, the more you do it, obviously the easier it is, the more you can just be independent and not have to have that structure to hold you accountable, but you're just doing it naturally. So yes. Don't overwhelm yourself. It's a baby steps at a time. Like I said, I'm 10 years in, and it feels so good to know like all the knowledge I've gained and just allowed it to be a good, fun experience for me and not just a task that I have to do.
Yes, absolutely. And I think you're right. It's like, how do you eat an elephant when a task seems so big? It's just one bite at a time. Just take it one bite at a time, one step at a time, right? So what final message do you want to leave with our audience today about the power of taking back their health?
I would say just knowing your body, listening to your body, and understanding the environment we're in Western civilization of, medication being very important because it allows us to be fast paced. Just critically thinking of the systems that we're in and how it impacts us, because right now it caters to people who are typically healthy, right? The ones that need more work, it just pushes medication and you're kind of pushed off to the side. And that allows for a lot of more struggle, I would say, because
I agree.
It's very difficult to go through something and not understanding what you're going through and then feeling like, okay, I'm the only one going through this, right? So just taking back your health by understanding that you're your ultimate healer, right? We know our bodies the best and we should know our bodies the best. So if we don't, we have to take action now and understand that there's no one else better than us to know how to heal ourselves.
I agree 100%. So how can people connect with you and follow your work?
So I have a YouTube channel. The handle is WELLJRNY. It should be in the description somewhere here. I have one video up right now. It's a workout video, but I plan to start adding on some things, creating some
Instagram?
content. Yeah, I do have an Instagram and a TikTok. So my Instagram and TikTok is more like personal, so my personal journeys.
Okay.
So they're both the same handle, WELLJRNY, short for Well Journey.
Okay.
So you can find me there, but the more professional content I'm going to start posting on YouTube. But yeah, you guys can message me, put in the comments if you like some of this material, and I can just start adding on to what you guys want to see.
Okay, great. Well, Chanel, thank you. Your story is a reminder that healing doesn't always start with perfection, but it often starts with pain. But it can lead us to fuller, freer, and more powerful life than we ever imagined. So to our listeners, if today's episode inspired you, visit us at larsonhealthweightloss.com and boldbravetv.com and explore the tools that can support your own wellness journey. You can catch this and other inspiring episodes of the Larson Health Podcast on Bold Brave TV, Spotify, YouTube at the Coach Kim Larson, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you enjoy podcasts. And don't forget to follow Chanel Boal. Her life is living proof that the journey is the breakthrough. And until next time, take care of your body, guard your mind, and never stop believing in your own power to heal.